Welcome to the Good Enough Lap Guide in the Ford Mustang GT at Brands Hatch Grand Prix, your lap guide to move up through the splits. The purpose of this video is to give you guys a foundation that you can build a solid, consistent lap off of. Once you can run those solid, consistent laps, you get in the race with the goal to finish the race, you will move up through the splits. First off, we'll talk about the track characteristics of Brands Hatch. So this is one of my personal favorite tracks. Kind of feels like an old country road, just a lot of flowing corners, elevation changes. It's almost like a little roller coaster, so I really enjoy this track. It's all about commitment. It's narrow. Like I said, tons of elevation change, and there's not a whole lot of room for mistakes. The first sector is going to be a little bit more technical for turns 2, 3, and 4. Once you get out of that, it really opens up. It's got a nice flow to it, a lot of fast corners. You really have to commit for the corners. You have to get your line right to optimize your lap time. So I hope you guys enjoy this track as much as I do. That being said, it's not the easiest track to pass at. So you really have to wait for opportunities to people make mistakes and you take advantage of those mistakes. Some places you can try and really work a pass is coming out of turn 4, going into turn 5, but they have to make a mistake and you have to nail the corner. Same thing with turn 9. If you nail that corner and they make a mistake, you might be able to get to the inside and pass them on turn 1. Next, we'll talk about the car characteristics of the Mustang GT4. I really do like it around this track. I feel like it's pretty neutral as long as you don't overdrive the car. If you do overdrive the car on entry, you're going to find understeer on entry and middle. And then on exit, you're going to get oversteer. You're going to get that snap oversteer. So if you find yourself pushing, going into the corner, back up your braking point, be a little bit more controlled coming into the corner. You should find nice rotation through the middle of the corner when you do that. And then when you get on the gas, you'll have oversteer or you'll have on throttle rotation. So you just modulate the throttle, make sure you got the right line getting out of the corner, and you should get that nice oversteer that you can work with on exit, get little power slides and just have it work in your favor. If you do find it snap oversteering, you're still probably driving too hard on entry and middle, and you just need to back that up and you should have better exits. The weather for this lap was 66 degrees Fahrenheit or 18.8 degrees Celsius. The track temp was 69 degrees Fahrenheit or 20.5 degrees Celsius. The lap time was a 129.983. Sector 1 was a 9.975. Sector 2 was a 17.877. Sector 3 was a 17.127. Sector 4 was a 16.678. Sector 5 was a 15.591. And Sector 6 was a 12.736. All right, let's get into the lap. For turn 1, your braking point is going to be as the fence ends on the right. It'll be heavy braking with trail braking into the corner. And then you'll have a slight turn-in point just before the 100 sign. We'll be aiming for a middle late apex. I do go over the curb here. Ideally, you don't want to go over the curb. You just want to barely kiss the curb. If you do go over the curb, it's not a big deal. Just lift a little bit and then get back on the gas. That being said, you're way better off to go over the curb than you are missing your apex because you're going to push out wide, and that's going to be a great opportunity for someone to pass you going into 2. For turn 2, you're going to start your braking point just as the dirt ends on the left. Then your turn-in is going to be about 10 to 15 feet past the 50 marker. It's going to be an early mid apex for the corner, and once you get there, you just want to wrap the car all the way around the white line until exit. For turn 3, you'll see this dirt on the right. That's what you want to use for your reference point for your braking going into the corner. And then we'll cut over the curb. It's an early mid apex. On exit, feel free to use all this runoff here. You won't get a 1x. Just be careful at the end. It will give you a 1x if you don't get back on the track soon enough. For turn 4, we're going to brake about 20 feet before the 50 marker. And then your turn-in point will be right at the 50 marker. And then you want to run a pretty direct line into the corner. You don't want to keep it to the outside and try and swing in late. You'll just never hit your apex that way. Going to be a late apex for the corner. There's actually a white line going across the track, so you can use that as a reference point for when you want to get to your apex. And try and not hit the curb. Get as close to it as you can. If you just barely kiss it, that's perfect. If you guys are finding this video useful, please hit that thumbs up button. It really helps out my YouTube channel. Also, I'm doing these every week, so subscribe so you can get a notification when the next one comes out. For turn 5, your braking point is going to be at the 100 marker. And then our turn-in point is going to be about 15 to 20 feet before the 50 marker. And then it'll be a middle late apex for the corner. We can kind of cheat here because you can see that shadow reaching out. That's exactly where you want your apex to be. For turn 6, we're going to brake about 10 to 15 feet after the 100 marker. And then our turn-in point is going to be just before the 50 marker. We're going to cut over a good section of the curb here. Just don't cut any more than I did, or you will get a 1X. And then on exit, we're going to use up all the runoff we can here. You won't get a 1X. For turn 7, our braking point is going to be at the 100 marker. And then our final turn-in point is going to be at the 50 marker. You're going to want to let the car get all the way out to the white line without touching the grass. We're going to cut over the curb here again. If you cut a little bit more than I did, it'll bounce the car a little bit too much. So you want to get like a medium cut on this corner. Turn 8, we're going to brake once we get to the outside of the track, about 30 feet before the 50 marker. And then our turn-in point is going to be at the 50 marker. And we're going to cut here. You can actually cut a little bit more than I did. I just missed this by about a foot or two, but we'll cut through the corner on 8. For turn 9, we're going to brake at the end of the metal guardrail on the left. Then our turn-in point will be where the asphalt path is on the left. And we'll be aiming for a later apex. You want to clip the curb just as you're coming back down over the top of the hill. That's your good enough lap guide in the Ford Mustang GT4 at Brands Hatch. If you guys like this video, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe. I'm doing them every week, and I'll see you in the next one.